Hello, English students. This is a tutorial on how to fill out the basic paper outline. This is a basic essay outline for almost any essay that you will be asked to write in college. For more specific ones, your instructor may give you their own outline, but for the basic paper, this is it. So you have this form that is fillable. You can save it as a PDF and just continue to save it and upload it directly to our assignment link. So the first thing that you'll see here is that we have our introduction paragraph, and you have the titles of the sentences here that come from that paragraph, or sorry, that PowerPoint that talks about essay structure with introductions and conclusions. So I'm getting this information from there and elaborating on it. There's also another PowerPoint that's about body paragraphs. So make sure you've read through both of those PowerPoints and taken notes before you start to write your paper outline. So your first sentence in your introduction is always going to be the attention getter. It's going to be something to make sure that your audience wants to read your paper and to draw them in. The first thing that you can do, or something that you can do, a strategy, is to ask a question about your topic. You can start with a surprising fact or a startling statement. You can provide interesting background information or show how the topic relates to something that the reader may have already experienced or will experience. There's other strategies that you can use, and they are listed in the introduction PowerPoint. Next, you're going to state the problem. And so the problem is basically the main issue that your paper will talk about. So what is the main issue with your topic, and why is it a hot topic of discussion or controversy? Why is it something that we want to know about, something that needs to be addressed? So you would state that here. Next, you're going to have some bridge sentences, and a bridge sentence sounds exactly like what it is. It's basically going to connect the problem that you talked about to your thesis statement, and it's going to narrow and go from general to specific. So your entire introduction is getting more and more specific down to the most specific sentence, which is your thesis statement. This can also be your illustration of the issue, so you can elaborate more on the issue that you just previously mentioned. The last sentence in your introduction is the thesis statement. And remember, your thesis statement is the topic plus your opinion about the topic plus 3 reasons for your opinion. Now remember, this is a 1-sentence deal. So this is not 2 or 3 sentences, it is 1 complete sentence. In some essays, it can be 2 sentences, but that's for essays that are really long. So if you have a 10 or 12-page paper, then you might want 2 sentences for a thesis statement. But for this paper and for most of the papers that we will write in class, 1 sentence is it. Okay, this sentence is going to identify your topic or your reasons. It's not going to actually speak on them or explain them. It's only going to identify. So you will identify your topic or your reasons, okay? Do not give examples of your reasons or explain them. That's what you're going to do in each of your body paragraphs. So this sentence just sets your reader up to know, okay, this is this person's 3 main points, and this is what I can expect to see and discussed in the next 3 paragraphs. Moving on to body paragraph number 2. So body paragraph, or paragraph number 2, will actually start the discussion, and it's going to be your first main point, which I have labeled here as main point A, discuss completely with details. And so your topic sentence, it can be 1 or 2 sentences. You're going to state your main point, and it's going to tell what this specific paragraph is about, okay? So think about this. Your thesis statement told what pretty much your paper was going to address, but this paragraph is going to go into exactly what this 1 paragraph is about. This is a topic paragraph, okay? Your next sentence or sentences, remember it can be more than 1, will explain and give more specific information about the main point. It's going to break it down and further go into detail about what main point A is or what it means. Next, you're going to give an elaboration sentence. An elaboration sentence gives an example of the information that you mentioned in your support sentences. So these two sentences kind of go together. It's all going back to the topic sentence, which goes back to the thesis statement. Your elaboration sentence typically starts with the words, for example, to illustrate, or for instance. Those are the words that it typically starts with. Now, you do not have to use those words specifically, but you can use them. And also there's other words that you may be able to look at as you're going through. So maybe Google some words for transition or for addition. There's also some in that PowerPoint that I mentioned about introductions and essay structure. Your next sentence is the elaboration detail. It's going to explain the connection of the example to the topic sentences. So this sentence or two explains or answers the question, how or why? How or why is what I just read connected to the overall topic sentence and the overall thesis statement? So then you're going to do this again with a second support sentence, a second elaboration detail. And the reason why we do this twice in the same paragraph is because it makes our essay stronger. It gives different examples in different contexts so that you've covered all of your bases. So the second elaboration gives an example of what you, second support sentence gives a second example of main point A, but it's different from the one you did previously, okay? And because it's different and because you want to make sure that your audience knows that it is along the same lines, but you're just trying to address it in a different way, it's going to start with the word like furthermore, also, or in addition. This triggers your audience to know, okay, they're giving me a second example or a second reason to go with that main point, and I should connect these two together. So next, after that, you have your elaboration detail, and your elaboration detail explains the connection of that, elaboration detail explains the connection of that sentence to the topic sentence. Again, it does the same thing as before. It's going to answer the question how or why. Last but not least, you're going to transition to the next paragraph. And so I give you some examples there. I say you can start this sentence with also, similarly, in addition to, just to let us know that we're about to transition to another point that's going to back up your overall thesis. So it summarizes this paragraph. It lets us know again what this paragraph was about, and then it connects the overall thesis statement and transitions to the next paragraph. So as we move further down, please note that paragraphs 3 and 4, where you're still talking about your thesis statement and you're addressing your main point B and your main point C, they are exactly like your paragraph 2. So they follow the exact same format. The only difference is that instead of talking about the first point, you're going to talk about your subsequent point. So same pattern, just different topic that you're talking about, or different reasons for your opinion. So they follow the exact same format. The last paragraph is, of course, your conclusion. And for your conclusion paragraph, you're going to want to start this sentence with something like in conclusion, or something like not like in conclusion. Do not use in conclusion. You're going to start it with something like overall, or some type of concluding word to let us know that you're about to sum up. Now, I did have notes on this, but apparently when I saved it, it did not save my notes. So when I post this with this video, I will also make sure to post this with the actual notes on there. So as I continue through, just know that you will, in your conclusion, restate your thesis statement. You're going to restate the main ideas, just state them in a different way. And then your last sentence can be kind of a call to action or a proposal or a prediction on the future. So do not worry, as I'm making this video, I noticed that it did not bring up my last paragraph, but I do have notes and I will actually post this with the video. So now we're going to move to an example of this completely filled out. So we're going to go to an example of completely filled out. All right, so here's an example of an essay outline, a persuasive essay outline, like the one that you will be writing, that is completely filled out. It is on a different topic than the topics that you had to choose from, and that's because I didn't want to do one on one of your topics, because then I would pretty much have done that topic for you. So I did choose a different topic, but it follows the same guidelines. Please note that it tells you the purpose is to organize and guide you through your rough draft and your final draft. This does not need to be written in complete sentences, but as you know, the more that you put on here, the better your paper will be. Now, there may have been some confusion about the difference between an outline and the actual final copy of your paper or rough drafts of your paper. The outline is just the skeletal bones of the paper. It does not have a lot of detail, background, or fluff. It's just exactly what it is. However, your paper is going to be kind of the end all be all. It's going to have all of the elements that it needs. It's going to explain in a little bit more detail and break it down. So the way I want you to think about this is like the recipe for a food and then the actual food product after it's made. So for a recipe, it tells you exactly what needs to be in the food, and then it's also going to tell you what to do when. That's like your outline. It's going to tell you what needs to be in your paper and what to put where and when. So then after you have made your food, now you have a complete product that's nice and pretty. It tastes good. Everything has melded together. The flavors are nice. That's kind of how your paper will be. So it's going to look different, but it should be more than just the sentences or of what you put on your outline. Again, this is just to get you thinking, not the overall discussion. So for this essay outline, I have given the topic of credit cards. That's my overall topic. The question that I will answer in this is, in what ways do credit card companies target young adults or college students into reckless spending? So that's kind of the question I'm answering. I believe that these credit card companies target younger students, young adults, college students into just spending a lot of money and going into debt. And so I'm going to try to persuade you to think that way as well. So starting with my introduction, you can see here what my attention getter is, what my stating the problem is, what my bridge sentences are. This is actually the sentences that I will put in my paper. Again, this is the skeletal, so I may actually add a few more and do a little bit more explaining, but right now, this is what how I'm going to open my paper. Then you see my thesis statement, and I'll read the thesis statement. I state, credit card companies hook students on a cycle of spending that leads to financial ruin by providing low credit access requirements, trapping users with high interest rates, and employing unethical profit gaining tactics. Okay, so within this thesis statement, you will notice it is one sentence put together. It has my topic, which is credit card companies. It has my opinion about credit card companies, which is that they hook students into spending recklessly, and that they could lead to financial ruin if not checked. So that's my opinion. And then you see the 3 reasons why I believe that way. And the 3 reasons are listed last. So the 3 reasons are that they provide low credit access requirements, they trap users with high interest rates, and they also use some pretty unethical profit gaining tactics. So you'll see here that I have my 3 main points. So this is a really good example of a thesis statement that is one sentence that has the topic addressed. It has my opinion in it without me saying I believe that or my opinion is. Notice there's no first person in this. So it has the topic, it has my opinion. You know how I feel about the credit card companies, and I give you my 3 reasons reasons why. Also note that I did not explain what I meant by low credit access requirements. I did not explain what I meant about trapping them with high interest rates, nor did I tell you what those unethical profit gaining tactics are. Remember, your thesis statement does not explain, it just identifies. So I'm going to explain what I mean by those three things in the next 3 paragraphs. Moving to paragraph number 2, which is my first body paragraph, you'll see that my topic sentence identifies what I mean by the providing low credit access requirements. My topic sentence states, unlike most banks, card companies provide credit to students without the students meeting strict guidelines. So that's what I mean by they have low credit access requirements. So you'll see it introduces my first main point. Next, my support sentence states that they overlook credit history for students, okay? So what my support sentence did was explain that guideline that I just mentioned in the topic sentence. I told you they don't have to meet strict guidelines. Here's what I mean about them not meeting strict guidelines. So it gets more specific there. Then I'm going to elaborate. And when I elaborate, I'm going to give you an example to illustrate what I mean by not overlooking credit history. So I tell you that they are on campus during orientation week sometimes, and that to get the credit card, you usually need to establish credit. To establish credit, you need a new credit card. And so here's kind of the cycle here. That's one of the things that they tell you. They say, okay, you don't have any credit history. Let me give you this credit card to establish your credit history. And so that's kind of a cycle. And then they'll say, apply for our student MasterCard. So I gave you an example to illustrate what I mean by them trapping students, not trapping students, what I mean by them overlooking the credit history, which again goes back to the students not having to meet any strict guidelines. Last but not least, on this same topic is my elaboration detail. And so in my elaboration detail, I'm going to describe how or why this tactic appeals to potential credit card users. So basically, how does this work? How is this connected? So I say the claims of the difficulties of building credit history appeals to students who are arguably beginning their financial career. So a lot of students believe that they have to have a credit card to establish credit history. They're having a hard time doing it and they have no credit history, so they think getting the credit card is a good idea. It appeals to them. So I'm letting you know how all these examples and illustrations go back to the topic sentence, which overall is proving that they don't have to meet strict guidelines. So whenever we persuade or argue, we do not want to only give one example. If I was to stop right there with this paragraph and move on, it would not be as convincing or thorough as it would if I gave another example of this same topic sentence. So I'm going to give you a second supporting sentence to go with the fact that these students don't need to meet strict guidelines. So here it is. I put that while on campus, students are typically bombarded with offers of pre-approved credit cards without even proving that they have any steady income to address or to pay these credit cards off once they run them up. So that's my second example of how they don't give strict guidelines. They pre-approve students right off the bat without them even showing that they have income. So now I'm going to elaborate. Secondly, again, your elaboration is going to explain this guideline again. And so I tell you that some credit card companies allow students a 60-day grace period before payment is due. So, and here I did have a little bit of research within this. Your paper, you are not required to have any research. I actually don't want you to, but I did give credit here. That's why you see that Blair right there. So then in the elaboration detail, I'm going to further explain why that or illustrate how that grace period appeals to the target audience. And so I say when they give them that grace period, it lures them into the buy now, pay later topic. So, oh, I need this textbook right now. My financial aid has not come in. Let me hurry up and put this on this credit card, and then I'll just pay it off. I got 2 months to pay it off. That appeals to most people, not only just college students, that appeals to most people because people usually don't like to pay bills, right? So that's kind of how I'm explaining or illustrating what I mean by them having those guidelines, by them offering the pre-approved, and explain what I mean about that grace period, how that grace period appeals to them. Okay, so last but not least, I have my concluding sentence. So the concluding sentence is going to sum up the entire paragraph. So remember, my paragraph was about them not having strict guidelines to get these cards. So my concluded sentence states that low access requirements might solve some temporary financial problems, but overall it can serve to trap the users with high interest rates. Now note here that what I did was the first half of this sentence about here sums up what this paragraph was about: low access requirements and the fact that, okay, they're good temporarily. Then the next half of this sentence transitions to my next point, and I even mention what my next point is. The next half says it can serve to trap the users with interest rates. If you remember my thesis statement, that was my second point in my thesis statement, that it trapped users. So your concluding sentence in this paragraph, for paragraphs 2 and 3, is going to sum up and also transition to your next point. So for the purposes of this video, I did not annotate again because remember, the next 2 paragraphs do exactly the same thing. But you can read through here and see my examples of the next 2 points in my thesis statement, which is the interest rates and harsh penalties that they can have, the high interest rate and harsh penalties. And then the next paragraph is about hurting students' financial reputation by using dishonorable tactics. And the tactics is what I focus on in the next paragraph. So again, these 2 paragraphs, or all your body paragraphs, follow the same format or formula. They're going to have a topic sentence that comes from your thesis statement. It's going to support, it's going to elaborate, and then it's going to elaborate in detail, and then it's going to do it again. So just kind of make sure that as you're going through your outlines that you are getting more and more specific in actually explaining. So you can, again, read through this outline so you can see what an outline for this type of paper looks like. Last but not least, here's my conclusion. And as I said on my previously, the conclusion notes on the fillable outline did not actually save. So I am going to redo that and post that. But for your conclusion, you're going to sum up, okay? You're going to sum up. So notice here, let me go back to this concluding sentence. Notice in the paragraph before, unlike the other ones, I didn't mention a next point because there is no next point. I'm finished talking about this and I'm going to my conclusion. So I do say that there, I sum up just that one paragraph. So my conclusion here, my very first sentence kind of starts out by letting the reader know that this kind of overall affects students, can affect students and can affect people for life. So I state that they discover too late that they're hooked on credit cards. After they get into debt, then they think, wow, I shouldn't have gotten that credit card. Here in main idea 1, 2, and 3, that's your main points A, B, and C. Same thing. So I list this in order. They're the same ones, but notice they're not exactly worded the same. So you are going to restate your main ideas, but they're not exactly worded the same as they were in my introduction, nor are they exactly worded the same from each paragraph. So you're saying the same thing, just in a different way. Last but not least, the last sentence is going to be, again, my concluding sentence for the whole paragraph. I want to leave my reader with something to think about. I want to give them maybe a call to action, something to do. I want to give them maybe some advice. I want to propose a solution, or I may want to predict the future and how this topic or issue could play out in the future. So my last sentence reads that credit cards are a part of life and there's nothing wrong with having one, but that college students should take some time to read the agreements and not be so influenced by these offers. And then I tell if they are otherwise, they may be caught in a debt cycle that has repercussions negatively and can negatively affect not only their financial lives, but their professional and personal lives as well. So that's kind of how I ended this. Again, I will post this actual completed sample outline with the annotations. I will post the other fillable outline with my notes on there, and I will add it to this video. That way you can look at those as you begin writing. Hope you've enjoyed this video, or maybe not enjoyed it, but I sure hope that it has helped you as you will continue in writing this paper.